Hi guys, I've had a pretty productive couple of weeks with the Willys. Um, Pretty much have the engine compartment done. It runs, um, has good oil pressure, stays cool, radiator isn't leaking, um, and I don't know. I got it timed in, got the idle set. It just kind of ticks right along. No weird noises. Uh, does seem to blow a little oil, but at 80, I'm probably going to blow a little oil too. So, um, I watch these big shot YouTube channels and you know these different programs on TV where they have the big reveals, and it's everything's highly produced, and a lot of action, a lot of before and after, rock music in the background, and I'm getting kind of good at this. Don't want to toot my own horn, but so I put together highly produced, a lot of editing involved, but I think you're going to enjoy it. It's a reveal, the engine compartment reveal for the Willys, and like I say, I've put a lot of time and effort into this, and I really think you guys are going to enjoy it. So before we even start, you're welcome. Pow, chicky pow wow, 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 chicka pow wow wow, big ten pow wow, chicky chow pow wow wow pow pow, pepper pow, ooh, pow, chicky pow wow, yee yee mow, woo, chicka pow, racka wow. Yup, I did that on my own. Turned out pretty cool, I thought. Just dumb enough to not be embarrassed and old enough not to care. So, like I say, things have been going pretty good the last couple weeks here at the Willys. I know I haven't posted anything for a couple weeks. Actually, I did a bunch of shorts last week. But, things in the end came together a little slowly. I was waiting on parts, and of course, I started it up a couple times, and this needed tightening and that was leaking. And, like, for example, the oil filter, it leaked really bad. I mean, it leaked like my Depends on a heavy day. I tried to use the rubber gasket that came with it. It seemed a little small to me anyway, and I just couldn't stop it from leaking. So I took the rubber gasket out, put the paper gasket in, which seemed to fit better, and now it doesn't leak. So disaster avoided on there. The fan belt, I did end up going with a little bit longer fan belt. The original fan belt is a 17 millimeter. See, I don't know why they gauge in millimeters. This is America. But anyway, 17 millimeter wide by 1,075 millimeters long. I believe that's what that means. So I bought a belt that's 17 millimeters by 1,100 millimeters, and to me, it seems like it's just placed a little bit better. The alternator is placed a little bit better. Like I said before, with the stock belt, it was really hard to crank on, and it was the alternator was way down at the end of the bracket here. Even though there was a little space to be had, it was pretty tight. So I'm going to run this one and see what happens. Boy, quite the segue there. So you may notice that when I have the camera on this lens, everything's in reverse. Actually, I'm over there, which is really weird. I'm doing all this off of my iPhone 14, and the camera app that comes with the phone, you can't go back and forth between the different lenses. without the recording shutting off. And then you're constantly shutting off the recording and then having to restart it again. And since I'm such an editing expert, I don't know how to put that all together. So I had to go get an app that lets me go back and forth between the lenses without actually shutting off the recording. But everything's mirrored in this view. But, oh, wait a minute. This might be a blessing in disguise. Yeah, no, I still can't read it. Yeah, so maybe not. It's a blessing. Maybe it's not a blessing in disguise. So anyway, that's why everything's in reverse right now. Like I say, runs nice, just kind of runs right along. Does smoke a little bit, but it sits at 40 pounds of pressure, oil pressure. It doesn't go like above 160 as far as the temperature goes. So I think that's a win. So like I say, the engine compartment's pretty much done. The next thing is going to be wiring, which I've already kind of started. I've rewired the grill for the simple fact of the matter that it seemed like it was going to be easier if the radiator was out to run the wires across from headlight to headlight, from driving light to driving light. So I did that while the radiator was out. I am making my own wiring harness. Number one, the wiring harness, the old wiring harness, it's toast. But I have wired one of these CJ2As before. Like I said in the past, I had one of these probably about 10 years ago. And I did rewire that one. And I used a wiring harness, an actual wiring harness. Got it from KaiserWillys.com. A really nice harness. Everything went together the way it was supposed to. But with this one, considering all the modifications I'm doing, as far as putting modern components in it, starter, alternator, solid state distributor ignition, the coil, the engine side of the wiring harness. I don't need any of that. And all these wiring harnesses come complete, which is cool if you're restoring one of these. But I don't need that much wiring anymore. The stock wiring is just like, for example, on the engine side of the engine compartment, it's like a spider web, man. All the wiring between the starter and the regulator and the generator and it's a mess. I don't need any of that. I just need lights. I need lights and a horn and a gas gauge. Of course, when you go from 6 volt to 12 volt, you have to change out everything electrical, because if you don't, it's bad news. Just for kicks and giggles, I did try to use the old 6 volt starter with the 12 volt battery, and I went, and that was the end of it. So for sure, if you're changing from 6 volt to 12 volt, you need to change all the electrical components. So being that I don't need a full harness, and I'm not spending upwards of $400 for a full harness just to cut half of it out. And like I say, nobody makes a harness like what I need, so I'm going to make my own. It's basically, I got to tell you, it's basically like wiring a trailer. I mean, you need headlights, directionals, stop, brake lights, and running lights for the back. And that's about it. So basically, that's kind of what I'm using is trailer wire. This is the wiring, for my, directionals, brake lights, running lights. And then I have to have other gauge wiring for the different things. There are things that need 12 gauge, 14 gauge. I do have a plan. I'm not just kind of cheesing it together. I do have a plan, of what color wiring I'm going to use for what gauge it is. So I'm pretty confident that it'll be okay. Going to use a professional setup. I'll use the shrinky dinks and all that good stuff. So it'll turn out okay. Don't worry about it. So I think what I'm going to do next is push this thing outside and get it running again, and then see if the clutch works and see what happens when I try to put it in gear. Because that'll be the next, like, oh God, am I opening up a can of worms or am I okay? Do I have to pull the transmission out, the transfer case out, put a new clutch in it, all that. So, I can't take it for a run because there are zero brakes. And I mean zero. It's not even an option. So I'm just going to try to rock it back and forth, see if it just works. Because, if all I have to do is change fluids, that would be awesome. So I'm going to push this thing outside, get it running. You can see it running. And then see what I see as far as putting it into gear.